Okay, we will get started. There's 10 of us. So we will get started and other people I'm sure will jump on as we go. I know Jeff has to leave early, so we'll just calling to order. We'll approve the minutes from last time or not, you'll decide with your vote. And then I think we could skip right down in the agenda to Jeff, point D. So can we approve minutes from last meeting? Do I have any motions to approve minutes from the last meeting? Jason, I see thumbs up. Anyone second Jason? Larry seconds. Okay. All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Aye. Opposed? Any opposition? No, minutes passed from last meeting. Perfect. We're going to skip down to D on the agenda. Jeff, memo outline update.
Sorry, I was on mute. When I realized I had to go to another engagement, I thought I'd do a presentation next week instead, next meeting instead. But I'd be glad to answer any questions on the topic now if I could.
Jeff,
So
what was the memo? I've been gone for a week and I'm trying to get all this back in my head from.
I was working on the questions and answer facts that might come up in interviews.
Got it. Okay, sorry about that.
And the FAQs that are on the website now are pretty good. I was going to modify them here and there a little bit just to clarify and streamline the FAQs that are already there. So it's not going to be a very heavy lift at my end this time. Are there any questions that have come up in any of the outreach that you've done so far? I can answer now.
Melody is not on the call right yet. I'm sure she'll hop on in a minute. She was going to be reaching out to some of the other news organizations. We could update on who has done any TNT meetings and see if there has been any questions or experience that you just like kind of want to share with the group on that. Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, so I participated in 2 of them, and I appreciated what you said about having a flyer or something like that available, because I think the first meeting that I participated in, it was kind of, I don't know. I felt like I was not rambling, but I felt like I was just kind of talking at them and not really able to provide sort of a hard copy of something that they could walk away with and then share with other people. So I think the flyer was really, really helpful. I think I didn't open it up for like questions, like I didn't say, hey, do you have any questions about any of this? Because I didn't really want to go into any detail. I didn't feel comfortable speaking about where we are in the process, or, you know what I mean? Like I just thought it was not appropriate to open it up for questions. So I don't know, Jeff, if that makes sense, what I'm saying here.
Did you get a sense of what the people's vibe was or what their take is on redistricting? Were there any comments?
No. So like, and at both meetings, there were common counselors there. And so I, in advance, said, I plan to them individually, I said, I plan to speak about the Redistricting Commission, just so you know. it's my understanding that we're not supposed to sort of engage with each other about this, but I am sharing this information with these folks on this TNT meeting. The participants they seem to be just kind of like, I don't know. They didn't seem to really, I guess I would say, like, care. Like, it was almost like, okay, whatever. It didn't seem like it was impactful, or that they were very much engaged. I don't know if anybody else has participated in them and what their.
Yeah, Tony, I did a couple meetings too, and the downtown one, I had a very similar experience to what you just described, but they also seemed pretty receptive, but just kind of like their first time hearing about it, so they probably don't know what to ask because they don't know what we're talking about. But then the north side one the other night was much different, and they were very interested, and we had our friend Pat Hogan join there. But I think I did take a couple questions just to kind of give an overview of like the process, because there was some confusion about how we came to be, and there was somebody had a kind of an idea that there was still going to be a public vote on the final maps, and I explained the referendum piece of the process had already, come and gone, and so I think it was helpful. And then they actually gave some good feedback in terms of like saying that we don't know about this. No one knows about this. What are you guys doing to promote this? And I just kind of assured them that that was our kind of main goal at this, juncture as well right now. So, but again, the same thing like Tony said, that instead of, I was like, I'm not just going to spew a bunch of dates and stuff, but I was copying and pasting a lot of like the social media and the dates in the chat bar on the side of their meetings, but how well that was received or recorded, I'm not sure either. So a flyer or a hard copy of something would be helpful. But there was interest.
Yeah.
And that
Tony,
one.
did they ever print your letter to the editor, Tony, or is that just in limbo?
Not that I'm aware of. Man, I don't know how that works. I don't know, like, you submit it and then, I don't know, like, do they confirm that they, Jeff, is that something that they confirm that they're going
You
to?
simply submit an op-ed to the editor. Yeah, they usually take a week or so to respond, but they're not obligated to. You might just do a follow-up message to them indicating that you're a member of a public commission, that this is a major endeavor coming up, and that it's important that the public be aware of it, and that you'd hope that they would consider your letter to see if it sparks them a little, a fire a little bit.
Okay.
You only do like 2 a week. Website.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, so Tony, we'll circle back around with the post. And thank you both. Thank you everyone for doing those TNT meetings. I think that is helpful just to diversify how we're getting out there. So thank you for taking the time out to go to those meetings. Hopefully they will be helpful, and they'll spread the words to other people who really care about this and would like to attend. The website update, Jihan, your meeting got rescheduled with Ruthnie this week, so there's no update, correct?
Yes, there's no update. It's basically to go over the website, but yeah.
When is your meeting scheduled for, Jihan?
She had a meeting run over late, so she didn't get back to me what time's good for her, but it should be like this week.
Okay. So hopefully we'll have some news, certainly before I mean, our next meeting is on March 14th, and then it's only a few days before our big first public meeting. And so, you know, I think that it's important we have some an agenda point at new business, but just to kind of talk about that. And I think it'd be wise, I know we only have Jeff for another 4 minutes or so, but probably next time to make a pretty concrete plan about how we are going to structure the public meeting, and like, you know, who wants to talk, like what are we going to say, do we have the graphics that we want to put up. I think that's probably how we should spend a lot of next time, is just preparing for that first public meeting. Or we can decide if we want to meet next week in addition, just to kind of gear up. That's something we should all kind of decide.
You know, the public hearings are really ministerial in that you want to have the logistics set up, you know, either in person or people connecting via Zoom, and then have a waiting room for people to testify. But you know, once the logistics are worked out, you'll essentially want to provide each person with whether it's 3 minutes or never more than 5 minutes to present. And then if they need the ability over Zoom to present something visually, to be prepared for that. And generally not to engage in Q&A with them, because this is mostly for listening purposes, since you don't have maps to or things to respond to yet. So most of the work that really needs to go into the hearing prep is the logistics to make sure that the choreography comes off right.
Okay, that sounds good.
And then generally, whoever's going to chair, and I've seen you have chairs taking an hour each or alternating sessions, but but saying, John Smith, you have, welcome to our hearing. The floor is yours. Provide for let's say a 1 minute warning so they know, or 30-second warning when to cut off in advance, and then go on to the next witness. A hearing can go a half hour, it can go for 2 hours. It just depends on how many people you have.
Okay, it's getting real. All right, that's good. Okay. Did you have anything, Jeff, that you wanted to add before you hop off? We don't want to make you late.
No, basically, just let me know if you have any questions on the hearings themselves. What you might want to do is, I'll give you a link to one of them. Look at one of the most recent state hearings, because they're a pretty good cookie cutter example of conducting a hearing that you're basically all going to be listening. So you just want to make sure that the electronics work out and the infrastructure.
Okay. Okay. Well, perfect. Thank you, Jeff.
Okay.
Okay.
And Freddie and Marissa Zanfordino from New York Law School, who works with me, she's now on the call. So anything that you want to convey to me during the rest of the meeting, please let her know.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so no website update. The other thing for an action, a piece on the agenda that we could address, I see Babette made a little comment in the chat about the library branches. Babette, is she back on? No. Okay, we will get an update from Babette when she comes back. But it looks like she just needs some dates, and then she could potentially reserve those library locations. I think we're talking about the second round of public interviews for those libraries, is what I'm guessing. So we'll move on to, I mean, we can just have more of like a open conversation for open issues, and just, the attendance and everything with this next meeting coming up, I think that's probably wise to spend our time kind of talking about how we'll handle this public meeting, if we want to just kind of get everything done on the 14th, a couple days before the meeting, or if we should meet next week instead and try to do some planning there. What are you guys thinking? Can be an open discussion.
Just getting back to the first public meeting, Jihan, my wife's been in contact with the people at ITC, and we can do another round of testing there prior to the 18th. We just, we haven't thought about that till we got back in town. So we'll be in contact with you to set up a date and time, and that Charles and Robert, you both offered projectors and speakers to us. Maybe I will pick them up from you prior and take them to ITC, so we can do like a full, not a dress rehearsal, but just to make sure, like Jeff said, make sure all the electronics work and it works with WebEx before we do this meeting, so we're not going in there cold. And we'll try and do that for each of our meetings, but I know definitely we're good at ITC because Robin has friends over there. So she's already been in contact with them, and we can actually do this prior to the 18th. So hopefully I can let us know prior to the 18th that we're all good to go, or, wear a bag over your head because it's going to be embarrassing. It should be good though. We should be all set. We tested it out at Fowler and it worked fine. And we'll get it done at ITC before this meeting. So we should be good to go for all the electronic aspects of this. Fingers crossed.
So John, I do have the projector and the screen and the speakers ready for you to pick up anytime. So.
Okay, I'll let you know. I'll get with Jihan separately, and we'll schedule a time that is good for my wife and everybody to meet up at ITC, and I'll grab it just before then.
Okay.
Thank you. Really, really appreciate it. You and Charles both.
Hey, Molly.
Yes.
Okay, I had talked about I showed you the badges that I made up.
Yes.
Okay, I have those made up for everybody.
Yes.
Perfect, Bob. So everyone, Bob made us really nice name badges that we can rewear at all of our public meetings that say our names, which I think is like a professional little touch, and Bob graciously did that all on his own. So thank you very, very much, Bob, for taking that on. That's very thoughtful of you. So he did a great job with that. They're beautiful. Very fancy. Much nicer than a little "hello, my name is" sticker. So, okay. So we'll have our name badges. We will have like the AV equipment from the school, thankfully, but also we had talked about some projectors to be able to put on some of those maps, some of the things that I think, Colleen, you were going to be kind of looking at. We'd be able to share on some social, but also just like deciding what maps we want to just kind of display, or certain like images, or we have to also decide like what we would be putting on just projector screens, just to show what it is that we're talking about. So that's why I saw Tony was saying that you were looking into it from the district. Yeah, I think the more the better, because we have to have a screen for the WebEx portion, and then, the screens for whatever else that we're doing.
Molly, to go back to your point, I think it would be wise if we could really, whoever's available, meet next week instead of waiting 2 weeks to just getting a little close if we wait that long. And then we might even decide after next week's meeting, we still need to meet, on the 14th, but just to answer your query about that.
Yeah, I would like a little bit more time just to practice. I mean, maybe it's just because Jeff has done a lot of these, but he made it sound very easy, but I'm a little bit nervous, and I want to make sure that we, know what we're, doing, not just the logistics, but, even just kind of practicing, like, who will moderate? How will we moderate this? And like, Jihan got an inquiry on Facebook, I believe, about like someone had already like asked like, will there be a time limit? And Jihan's like, I mean, I don't, like, I don't know. So like, even just like these little things that like, I don't even think we're even thinking about right yet. It would be nice to kind of hammer out some of those details.
Yeah, and maybe I was thinking, I was going to ask Jeff, but I knew he was on his way out. Maybe Marissa can, relay this to him. But what if we get a lot of people that are there asking us what we want to hear from them about, like how are we supposed to kind of keep the meeting moving if people are inquisitive of what kind of information we're looking for? We should have a couple, ideas of how to kind of, I guess, guide them too.
Isn't the purpose of these first 5 meetings, though, just to hear? And then after we hear, the next round of 5 will be more of this is what we're doing?
Yeah, I guess, I mean, it's more, I guess my thought is that people are gonna not know what we want to hear. Like they're just probably interested in the process and they're showing up to learn more about it. And we might want to have a couple, ideas of how to just start conversations if people are like, well, asking, we're advertising it as come join this meeting and learn what we're doing. And if people are just showing up and not really knowing how the process works or what kind of information we're looking for, we should be able to kind of help solicit.
I wonder, and maybe it's a question for,
Sorry, go ahead.
Hi, Jackie. I was thinking of kicking it over to Jerry or Marissa or even Josh. And like, I wonder if it's like helpful, to Colleen's point, to like almost have like potential like questions or like kind of like prompts, like, asking about like their community or like where the bounds are in their district, like, do they think that they need to be moved? What, like, just some questions that, like, if they did come in just like kind of wondering, it's almost like they could like look up and be like, okay, I could speak on that. Do you think that something like that would be helpful?
I think that would be very important because they'll want to know what you need to know.
Mm-hmm.
It is about what you need to know, but they're not coming to the meeting, the sense of what, for example, do you feel well represented by the way the council is organized now? Did you think of it of a way to make you better represented in your part of the city, in your community? How much interaction do you have with the council? Who do you go to when you want to talk, connect with the council? See if they go to. It's often the case that a person feels represented by somebody in another district, representing another district. They're racial or ethnic or affiliations or commonalities. So representation doesn't occur quite in the geographic paradigm that we have now or thinking and setting up. So they gently, because it's not good to force an answer that you might be expecting or to think that people think you're doing it. But 4 or 5 ways of prompting them to think. And once a particular energetic person comments, others. By the way, I did send that essay or brief page of you all, so I hope you got that. I didn't. Nobody noticed that or seen it exists.
So this is Jackie. I'm thinking more of a FYI almost like a bullet point information, or it could be as small as the, not a full sheet of paper, 8.5 by 11, but a 4.5 kind of, half of that. Little bullet points, let's talk, and then of course ended with let's talk about it, or do you have questions, or why redistricting? How did it start? Something that kind of gives people a backdrop, because when we would try to get that, what was called Proposition 2 at the time on the ballot, not on the ballot, but passed, because it was on the ballot, we had like a bullet point talking, because it was hard to kind of extract from people what they don't know the question to answer. They're going to ask it, but how does redistricting affect you? Why redistricting? Why now? Kind of thing. It happens every 10 years. It's really nonpartisan, but it can be in any community, and you can still have that same little bullet point where it's not kind of leading people, but it is informing them. Oh, that's what it is. Well, I can answer a question based on, you know, this or that. You know, maybe, as I said, like not more than 4 or 5 bullet points because people's attention is going to wane, but they can take it with them and to take home and chalk it up so maybe they can go for the next meeting and now have something. I think it worked very well for people to just kind of vote on the bill because it was to flip the ballot over. And it was just kind of convoluted in that way, but it worked out because somebody took that cheat sheet right in with them and they remembered to flip that ballot and you know, what the purpose of this was all about from wherever, League of Women Voters or whoever has maybe some talking points for it. Thanks.
Okay, so Jackie, to clarify, are you saying like this, like FYI, like little sheet of paper to like hand out at the public meetings?
Right. You know how when you sign in, because I'm assuming we'll have a sign in, is that correct?
These are the things that I don't even know. I don't know what I don't know. I don't know.
I would say we could. I think we should because then you have now an email list. And it's almost like, you know, how kids say, well, I got a receipt. This shows that this was our showing at this meeting. And then we can come back and discuss what could we have done better to do better with it. But, you know, it kind of, without guesstimating, gives you a physical, you know, people want to know if they, not that they'll be bombarded with all kinds of junk mail, but, you know, email, phone number, something real simple so it won't be ridiculously long in terms of a line or anything.
Ben,
is that in terms of the FYI? Sorry?
I was going to ask Ben, is that something that has happened at other redistricting meetings where when people attend, they sign in and provide information? Did he hear me?
Who are you addressing, Anthony?
I'm asking you.
Oh, to me, you got my last name, not my first name.
Okay.
It's not, it's you, the way I've done it, I was head of a government, and when I was doing that, I took names when they came in on a list, and I gave them the floor in the order they signed in. It was, nobody could judge that I was favoring one person over another or the chance to talk. I told them we'd stay for as long as they were there and wanted it. And to give everybody a chance. It's a little risky because you could get a big crowd and then you're up late at night. I tried to establish the idea of fairness right away. Everybody will get their chance. But in order for that to happen, everybody has to honor the time limit, which I usually made 5 minutes with a warning at 4 minutes. You could. Then and I told them, we're here to listen to you, not to talk, not for an exchange. We're going to be available for an exchange. If you want to say this, we'll be available for exchange in a venue, but they expect to talk back and forth. A hearing is a hearing. It's about listening, not talking. Might even use the name of the meeting to help you with that. We're hearing. And then I necessarily found that I had to remind people as we went along of what we were doing and how we were doing it. And then with regard to cues, most often I didn't use them. It was it was mostly about public policy choices, planning choices, controversial legislation, and they were pretty much geared up for that. But here, when I've been listening to you all, I find that it's not going to be so, or unlikely to be so, except in selected places or selected people. So I think I like that idea of here's 4 or 5 topics we really want to know about so we can do this properly and well for you. And that might trigger some thinking. That's generally how I proceeded. And I also made, this is probably not necessary, but I've always made a statement about order and civility at the outset. Because people can get at each other. So, that, you know, it's a democratic process. We want everybody to be heard. We want to listen to each other. It's important that we're civil to each other to do that.
Okay. Well, thank you. I was curious because I think Jackie makes a good point. If we had people signing in, then it would be pretty easy to just have them take one of those, whatever, half sheets with them into the meeting.
And there's another reason for that as well. It happened to us. I hope it doesn't happen again. But we did the political debates that just passed, and thank God for people signing in. We had to do trace testing because somebody actually had undiscovered COVID. So even though we had masks and all of that, well, as soon as that got out, they wanted our list.
Okay.
You would have how to do a sign-in sheet for the in-person people as well as anyone attending online. How do you merge those?
I wonder if we can make like a Google Doc that or like a sheet that people fill out, and we post the link like in the chat in WebEx. People can like sign in their name, their address, but also we could, even one of us could be sitting at the door. Here's your flyer, like let's sign you in, and like it all goes to like one master document. I wonder if there's a way to electronically do it. I will look into it. Okay. So I'm just kind of jotting down some of the things that I'm hearing so far, and sign in. And I think that maybe some kind of like loose script of moderation, like Jerry just said it incredibly naturally. Like, we will have 5 minutes. I will give you a minute, like a warning at 4 minutes, you know, like, but just like, even just like something to like, that whoever is kind of talking, we're all saying the same thing, and we're able to say it in this very kind of like just neutral sort of way. I think making some kind of script for those kinds of things, even like an introductory script, and then in a script that we say every time someone comes to the mic or whatever, would be helpful. And then giving them the topic talking points, 4 or 5 things. And maybe that's something we could brainstorm during this week and solidify those 4 or 5, you know, kind of questions or points at our next meeting, and just like so that we have it.
Well, Molly, I think Jeff just said a minute ago in his couple minutes, he was brief, but it was like you as the host or the MC would say, welcome to our hearing. We're here for listening purposes. You have 3 to 5 minutes to speak. Give us your name and we could get it right there. I mean, it doesn't have to be a sign-in. I mean, it could, but those people would then be. So it sounds like we're really going to be doing more listening than talking. As far as the points they're presenting, I think we could just simply pick things out of our charge is what's the role of this commission, and just take those 5, 6, 7 things and just dress them out. And this is what we're here for. This is what we're here for. So you're here to talk to us. This is your hearing. This is your chance to talk.
Or even extrapolate them from the FAQs that some of the commissioners.
Yeah,
made.
well, the FAQs actually followed our charges pretty well.
Yeah.
Just, I think it should be something simplified. You don't want to turn people off. We may know what we think we know, but we have to assume people know nothing, ground zero. Now, I don't mean like dumb, but there's a lot going on. I'm not going to speak for other communities, but if we want to have a positive turnout, we got to at least be able to be relatable. So if there's 2 things that I'll push back on. I think that the sign-in is exactly important. We're in COVID. You have no way of tracing should something, God forbid, we don't want it, but that's very irresponsible. You're using people's places and you don't have a sense of who's there. And so that thing, and then second thing, of course, is the bullet points. I mean, that was something that was sent to us, I think, if I'm not mistaken, by when we first started this, by what's his name?
Nader.
Mr. Nader, yeah, that he was sending us little informationals and things that you can read up on. They were very wordy, but he was somewhere in the details was saying that, you know, make sure that it's relatable and you want to have people pull in. That's what this is all about. We need their input.
Well, I think we're talking about two different things here. One is a conversation where people are talking about, like, who are we? What is it that we're doing? Here's redistricting. And then the other was what, like, Colleen and I were talking about earlier with, like, if people are just coming and they are like, hey, I want to see what's going on. Like, it's like a question prompt of, like, asking specific things about, like, your district or your neighborhood that they could then tell us so that we can be listening to their concerns. But, like, sometimes people need something to, like, get their, you know, wheels moving. So I see that as, like, almost two different things.
I think, Molly, to get something to get people's wheels turning too is if, and I'm going to work with Josh on this, but getting like poster size graphics of just the existing districts as they are now, and then people, you know, we can be point to it, be like, what makes sense about this? What doesn't make sense? Like, just very open-ended questions like that. Just to get, like, okay, that's what we're looking at. Like, what do I define my neighborhood by? You know.
There's no more contact tracing for the COVID, by the way. They got rid of that a while ago. So you don't have to worry about sign-in sheet to trace COVID.
No, I think
it's not to trace COVID. Go ahead. Sorry.
Like, as the speakers go, I'm assuming we'll be recording the meeting and it'll be recorded in some sort of meeting minutes afterwards to note who spoke. Maybe not everything they said, but. And then it kind of made me think about what is the order that we choose people to go. Is there a sign-in sheet for the order that people will speak, the people that are interested in speaking?
That's a good question. I think that, you know, it would be helpful for us to have a sign-in sheet, just because not everybody who attends is necessarily going to want to speak, right? So we want to know everyone who is interested in redistricting. That will be captured, I think, by a sign-in sheet. We could also combine it so that we have it, that people indicate, I would like to address the commission. You know what I mean? Like, it could be combined to say, this is your sign-in, but you're also letting us know if you'd like to address the commission.
Yeah, it could just be a check mark. You know, here's my name. I'm from district whatever, and I do want to speak, check. Or no interest, then don't check it, you know. And if they change their mind, they can always go to the bottom of the list, just come up to us and decide, hey, I do have something to say. That's and as Graham said, we can, when they sign in, we could probably get on the chat and ask them, are you interested in speaking, and just leave like every third place open on the speaking list for somebody that's logged in, and just insert their names in the order that they decided they wanted to speak at our meeting. That's just an option for us too. That way we can merge both virtual and in-person people into the same, you know, so it's kind of fair. You know, it might not be exactly the order they got there, but we'll make availability for everybody.
That sounds good to me. To your point though, Jackie, what I was trying to say is this 4-point bulletin thing that we're trying to possibly create that offers people who might not know what to ask or what to say. I was saying perhaps we could take some of the information, not in the entirety of it, some of the information from the FAQ that was developed.
Right. Okay. I mean, if it's simplified enough,
simplify
so much.
Mm-hmm. Simplify it, but take it from that FAQ, which I thought was well done.
We should probably take that same information that we're going to hand out on half sheets of paper and do like a public relations assault a week before our meeting, just press release after press release, and include in that, here's when you attend our public meeting, here's what you should be asking us, or here's what we want to hear about. And then just assault every media outlet we can for that week, multiple times. And eventually somebody might, print it and say, hey, this public meeting's coming up next week, and here's what they want to hear, or not what we want to hear, but we expect to hear things from the public, and these are the topics we want to talk about, which would be redistricting and not anything else.
And I think, John, if I develop a flyer, hopefully this week of some sort, I have the means to print out, kind of mass quantities at my office, and then I don't know how to disseminate them to everybody, but I think it would be wise if we all just, there's plenty of restaurants, cafes, libraries, community centers, just literally like door to door start posting them where we're allowed to.
Yeah, I'm in the print office now. It's a great idea.
Yeah, so I can keep everybody in the loop via email what the status of those are and how I can get them to everybody if they want to help pass them along. But figured hitting up, at as many places as you can that are in your neighborhood, or if you know things in other neighborhoods. But as long as we're asking,
that's a good idea.
Permission.
That's a good idea, Colleen. Almost like canvassing.
Yeah. Hopefully that would help.
Now, do we have an expense account to run them off? Because right now I'm running off 400, and I don't think I could keep this up. I run a food pantry, but we do have a big outing tomorrow, and we're going to flood people's information bags with it. But if there's some kind of way that we'll get them to be able to mass produce and budget-wise?
We have reimbursement forms, I believe. Isn't that what they gave us, Jihan? We have them on the Google Drive. I think it's a matter of presenting your receipts with the form, and eventually the city will reimburse us for expenses related to this. And it's the way the budget worked out, it's 400 per meeting until July. So that doesn't mean we, if we end up spending 800, we just don't have 400 for one meeting. So, I don't think we should be printing $400 worth of flyers, but that being said, we do have access to money. It's just a matter of waiting for the city to reimburse us once we make the expense.
Great. I'll do it as we speak, and I'll hold on to my receipts, I guess. I'll just try to print out starting at 200 because we expect 200 at this meeting tomorrow.
Well, what would you be printing, Jackie? We don't have anything done up yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I meant my mind is beyond you all. The meetings, the little Syracuse redistricting meeting, or did you already produce those? The flyer that was sent to us.
Okay, yeah, no, we haven't printed those at all, no.
Okay, yeah, I'm doing that because I'm trying to strike while the iron's hot. I have something tomorrow I know there'll be at least up to 200 people there, but I'll do that at this time and just see what happens.
Cool.
Okay, cool. Okay. So where's everyone at with potentially meeting next week to hammer out some more of these details? I'm hoping that maybe Jeff would be able to attend, but of course we wouldn't know for sure. I don't know if Marissa knows the schedule, but he would probably want to have autonomy in deciding if he can come or not. So is everyone okay if we meet next Monday as well?
Yes.
Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I think that would be helpful. We're missing some people tonight as well, and so it does feel like a little nerve-wracking to wait until 4 days before our first meeting, because we're having good discussion here, but we're coming up with things that it never even occurred to me to think about some of these things. So I think that's probably wise. So we can just shoot for, just to keep it consistent, like next Monday at 5:30, just like our meetings usually are. Maybe we can hammer out some of the details about this. Will everyone, part of the new business was like attendance and things for the meeting. Will everyone be able to attend that first March 18th meeting, and will you be able to attend in person? Two-part question. I'm seeing some
Yes, and
thumbs
yes.
up.
I'm not sure I can make the first meeting.
Okay, Larry.
What
Is
was
everyone?
the date?
It's March 18th.
I would most likely be virtual.
You're gonna be virtual. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So does it have to be Friday? Can we look at Thursday, or is that not good?
No, that's our first like public meeting, Jackie. Like that's a public hearing.
Oh, at the 4. Gotcha. Okay, at the 4. I'm distracted with the printing. Okay, that's fine.
Okay, so we are going to meet next Monday on WebEx just as a commission to kind of hammer out some of the details for that March 18th meeting.
Okay.
Okay. I think that's all the
Is there
stuff.
a menu set in place? Sorry, is there a menu for that? I know that they were talking about refreshments. Did you ever hammer that down?
No, we have, these are some of the things we have to kind of think about, like what, refreshments do we serve? What is, think about COVID safety, things like that. I don't even know. Jackie, what were some of the things that happened at the county redistricting meeting? Did they have refreshments? Like, what did they do?
Oh, there were no refreshments. It was, I think they wanted to not make us feel so welcome. So there weren't even chairs sometimes, not adequate chairs. So that being said, going forward, any of the other meetings, like when we even try to get community involvement, of course, the election or the debates, we had COVID safety reasons. We had the bottled water, small ones, not the regular size, and then your chips, sandwiches, those kind of things were kind of tricky. We didn't want to because they were not prepackaged, so it would stand that reason of that. So it was chips, it was bottled water. Think of snacks that are already contained, and people seemed to want to stay longer because they were being hydrated. I mean, it was one area you just kind of step out and do your thing, you would snack a bit and then go back.
Right. Should also be sensitive to any like popular allergy things. So like we probably just shouldn't put out like little individual bags of peanuts or anything like that. Probably wouldn't be wise.
No, we didn't do that. Yeah, that's true. We didn't do that. It was it's prepackaged. Even if it was at one point, it was mini donuts or something. But you're right. Nothing with the peanuts and things that you get a little too much about.
Right. Well, I have like a Costco membership. I can see like kind of some of the selection at Costco right now. I guess I can force myself to go there this weekend, it'll be a big sacrifice, but I could go and see what's on display there.
Yeah, I can certainly grab a few cases of water and stuff like that. I'll take a look. I got, nothing but time, so.
I don't think the public is going to be expecting snacks.
You'd be surprised.
Really?
You'd be surprised. Yeah.
If I'm going to go to a meeting,
a
public meeting for more than an hour, I'll be prepared and bring something with me. I wouldn't expect
Yeah.
them to
Well,
provide it.
our community, they expect snacks because some people are coming from work, so they don't have the luxury of unless they're going to buy something.
Yeah, I don't think it hurts to just buy some prepackaged things for COVID reasons, and then whatever doesn't get taken at the first meeting can always just be rolled over to a next one or whatever, but.
We won't go too crazy with the snacks, and we will not, drive ourselves crazy finding the perfect snack. We'll just find like a good enough snack. And we will not fret too much, but I think it's nice. A lot will be decided by this kind of like this first meeting. Like we'll see like what works and like what doesn't. So like if absolutely nobody eats the snacks, then maybe we just know like we either need less snacks or no snacks at the next meeting. But if like we run out, we're like, oh, we need to buy more snacks for the next one. So we can't really know until we get there. So we'll just be prepared.
Before we end tonight, Jihan brought up an issue earlier today, about listing all of our names in on social media and any other outlet. And Gerald can correct me if I'm wrong. We're all sworn members of a public commission, so at the very least, our names should be listed somewhere, and made available to the public. The first 8 of us were all in the newspaper. The rest of you have not been in print that I've seen, but as public commissioners, I believe at the very least our names should be put out there. And I don't believe we have a choice in that. Your picture and your address and your phone number certainly don't. I mean, technically they probably could be made public, but they don't have to be made public by us. But I believe our names should be put out there so the people in the community know who we are, and that's but like I said, I'm going to throw it out there just to let you know that I think Jihan can go ahead and publish our names in our social media, unless Gerald has a different opinion. Maybe I'm completely off base. I was a public servant for many years, and I'm used to having my name and everything out there anyways, so that's just my experience.
For some context for everyone, someone had messaged Jihan and like wanted to know the names of all of the commissioners, and so she was just checking today to like, is that okay? Like, and so John's point of view was like, yeah, like we're a public commission, so that was just the context behind it.
I think it's common practice, and it's already on the public record. But I have found some people, it's interesting because I haven't looked at the statutory question, just always did it. So it's something I have to find out for sure. But people are sensitive about their pictures. They feel that they don't want to be stopped on the street and somebody is mad about something and starts up a conversation that could be uncomfortable. So that's kind of middle ground. Pictures and addresses might be discretionary, but names would be necessary.
Perfect. So if there's no objections, I don't know if we even can object, but if there's no objections, we're going to go ahead and post everyone's names. We'll leave your social security's numbers out of it this time, but and we'll just go from there. Okay. So we'll send out an email reminding everyone that we're going to meet next week. And for those who are not here this week, we'll attach it probably with the meeting minutes. Look for that email from Jihan with meeting minutes and the reminder for next week's meeting. And it'll probably be important to add things to the agenda when John sends it out. Kind of thinking about that breakdown of like how we want to use our time next week. We'll be wise. We'll hopefully make sure that we'll see if Jeff can come. Josh, we don't always have you at our meetings, and so I know. Is there anything you wanted to be able to add or anything like that before we go off for the night?
I mean, I'm working on the Voting Rights Act sort of analysis right now. I think the analysis will definitely be done by the end of the week. I don't know if the report will. So by the end of the week or early next week, I should have a report to share with you guys about what's possible in terms of majority districts, and a little bit of analysis around that. But, other than that, I took down the dates of the public hearings. I'm going to try to attend as I can, just to listen and kind of get a feel for what concerns are, and if there's discussions about how people sort of define their neighborhoods or their communities. I'd like to kind of have that in the back of my mind when I'm looking at a map, so I can kind of think of it in those terms. I'm going to try and make the meeting on the 18th. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to. I got to pass it by my wife and see what we actually have a paper calendar downstairs to keep track of our commitments, so that we know what we have to do with the kids at any given point in time. So I also have to consult the paper on the wall.
Perfect.
Which, despite the fact that it's like ancient tech, it seems to be the most efficient.
Absolutely, whatever works. Okay.
I'm never left scratching my head wondering how to log into the calendar.
Okay, perfect. So we will look forward to that report sometime, probably early next week, maybe. So we'll be looking for that. Thank you, Josh. Exciting. Okay. Anything anyone else wants to add? Questions, comments, concerns? Tony? Oh, hold on, you're on mute. Hold on. Jihan, can you send him a request to unmute?
You wanted to talk about the PR efforts.
Yes.
Want to do that next week then, or?
If you know any information, I just know Melody was making some of those inquiries, so I didn't know if you kind of know about that process a little bit. We can certainly address that.
No. I don't know what Melody's doing. So
Okay.
I can't.
So I'm sure maybe we'll see her next week. I'll reach out to anyone who was not on tonight. Also, just we've got a couple people who just haven't made it, so I want to check in.
And then question for Jahan: Did Jahan reach out to Camp 415?
So Jackie, I don't know if you got my emails, but I asked you for the contact because I'm not finding nothing about them. But the Chief Shaw.
Oh, I sent it. I'm sorry. I will send it immediately because I sent it. I didn't. That's why I asked you. Unless you want me to, I can just tell you the phone number. That'll be easier.
Yeah,
would that work for you?
Yeah, that would work.
Okay. Let me take quick. Sorry, you guys. What's his name? Virgil. Okay. I do things the old school way, so it's enters his place. Okay, let's see. His name is of course, when you want to look for something, Esteban, ESTAD like boy, AN like Nancy, Trotman. He's the president. Trotman is TROTMAN, and it's 315.
Can you send me an email? Because I emailed you. And if you just send it to the email, it'll be a little easier.
Sounds good. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're too young to be Missy. Okay, I'll do it now.
All right. Any other questions or concerns before we meet next week? Okay. We have an emotion to adjourn.
So move.
Tony and Bob seconds. All in favor, say aye. Perfect. Any opposed? Okay, we are adjourned for this week. I'll see you guys all next week.
Good night, good night.
Take care.
Thank you. Thank you to all of our guests as well. Thank you.